Welcome to Microlearning on the Flip Side. This program is intended to help you improve your health and productivity. My name is MV.
And I am Rosanna, and we will be guiding you throughout this journey.
This is our fourth session in our stress module, and today we're going to explore two tools that can be used at any time to manage stress. In the last session, you learned about the microstressors and their effect on your stress threshold. Your call to action was to become aware of the most common microstressors, identify which ones were within your control, and list one action that you could take to address, modify, or eliminate this microstressor. Despite all our best efforts, we cannot live a stress-free life. And by now, you know that you need stress to drive performance. Our social dynamics and our personal and professional lives will always present some form of unwanted stress. Today, we're going to learn two extremely useful tools that have a scientific background and which can help you manage daily situations of stress to delay reaching your stress threshold and help you return to baseline.
Let us begin with our first tool, and that is breathing. So why is breathing so popular when it comes to stress management? Breathing is controlled by our nervous system and associated with the rest and digest system. When we breathe, we do it without a command, just like when we digest, as our blood flows through our veins without a command. We do not tell our blood to flow or our stomach to digest. It simply happens, as well as we breathe. But when it comes to breathing, even though it is part of our nervous system, there is a portion that we can control. And this is the powerful reason why breathing has an immediate impact on stress management. It is a gate to enter your nervous system. But for the purposes of managing stress, not all forms of breathing are created equal. Certain forms of breathing have been studied as being successful to reach your nervous system faster and to get back to baseline efficiently. We're going to share two different forms of breathing with you today. They are both very effective, and you can simply use them when you need them, depending on the occasion, and use the first one that comes to mind.
The first one is the physiological sigh. This form of breathing was discovered in the early 30s, and it is something that we do unconsciously when we're about to fall asleep. It is a double inhale through the nose and a big exhale through the mouth. But here's the detail. The first inhale should be at capacity. You should feel that you cannot inhale anymore. While you're there, you will do a second inhale, also through your nose, and it will be only a fraction of a second, and you will feel that it is not adding much. Then you are to immediately release with a big exhale through your mouth. How does this technique work? Well, your lungs have little sacs called the alveoli. When you do the second short inhale on top of the big one first, these sacs are re-inflated. And when you add the long exhale through your mouth, the lungs are much more effective at flushing the stress hormones from our system. If you want to use this technique, you can repeat it several times in a row. Remember we said that it takes your body around 40 minutes to reach back your baseline after a stressor hits? In evolutionary terms, this should occur naturally. But in modern terms, and with the inputs we're receiving, it does not occur naturally unless we intentionally work it out.
The second form of breathing is called box breathing, and this is a simpler one that is very easy to remember. Imagine a square box. Now you will inhale in the count of 4, following the line that goes up on one side of the square. Then you are to hold on the top for 4. Coming down, you can exhale for 4. And then you're going to come back to your starting point, holding for 4. And you repeat that 4 times. So it's a 4-side square as a square, counting on 4, repeating it 4 times. Very easy to remember. You can change the count to whatever works for you. 4 is a standard, but perhaps you want to do 5, 6, 7. It is your choice. Remember, it's like drawing a box that has equal sides with your breath. Breathing is an effective way to reach your baseline, and that is why it is so popular. The physiological sigh that Envy explained is one way of breathing that cleans your system faster. so you can return to baseline within the next 40 minutes. Box breathing regulates your breath and consequently lowers the levels of the stress hormone cortisol and maybe even helps to lower your blood pressure. Box breathing also helps you move out of the state of stress by tapping into bodily systems responsible for rest. Is a regulator. Remember, your lungs are an on-demand gateway to your nervous system. The physiological sigh can be used if you're alone in your office, perhaps taking a break from a meeting or a call while driving, or when you are transitioning from one activity to the next. On the other hand, box breathing can be done in public if you need to, as no one will notice that you're doing your box breathing, and it will help you regulate your stress response.
Now, let's turn our attention to our second tool, and that is movement. You all have heard that exercise is great for stress. But in the middle of the day or during a meeting, you can't simply say, oh, please give me 20 minutes to exercise so I can cope with the situation, right? This is when the physiological sigh or the box breathing can come very handy. However, another fantastic way to get your body back to baseline after experiencing a stressful event is incorporating movement. In our prior sessions, we talked about the physiological effects of stress. One of them was our body's need to move. Remember the example of running to catch a connecting flight? You're not a runner. Maybe you are. But in specific circumstances, your body will prepare you to attack the situation efficiently by allowing you to run at a speed that may seem unimaginable under other circumstances. Stress invites you to move. It is part of the stress response. Moving will help your body flush out excess stress hormones that have been released in response to the stressful event, to avoid accumulating them inside your body, since this accumulation can trigger other detrimental effects.
So notice that we're not talking about exercise. We're referring to movement. Simple things such as a brisk walk, jumping jacks, a few squats or lunges, or push-ups. It is not about how many of them you do or for how long you do them. It is about getting your heart pumping a little harder. What you're looking for with this is not the physiological effects of exercise, meaning building muscle or endurance, but activating the flush of the stress hormones, which is going to help you get back to baseline faster. Again, it is about controlling your nervous system. If moving for 2 minutes is available, you will be able to transition from one stressful moment to the next without accumulating that cortisol and adrenaline in your bloodstream, which you have learned by now that affects your future or present performance if you are soon to hit another stressor or your stress threshold. The most effective way to use movement as a stress management technique is something called self-generated forward optic flow. Many big words, just to simply say, walk or run without your phone. So, if it is available to you at least once a day during your work period, go for a 10-minute walk and do not take your phone, or at least keep it in your pocket.
Well, this brings us to our call to action for this session. For the next couple of days, choose one form of breathing, the one that you think will be easier for you to remember, or the one that works best for you, and try it out. Next time you're in a stressful meeting or caught up in traffic trying to reach your destination on time, try using a breathing technique and take note of how you felt, how quickly or how slow it worked, and how you felt after it. We recommend trying both techniques and keeping the one that is easiest for you to use if it is effective. If easier, and for a couple of days, put a timer in your preferred device so you can practice whichever technique you choose at least twice a day.
Well, similarly as it relates to movement, our call to action for you is to make a list of potential moves that you can make that are easy yet challenging and try them out in moments of stress. Take note of what works and, of course, adjust to your surroundings. If you work in an office that is open concept, maybe a walk outside works best. But if your office allows you to close the door, then maybe you can try to hold a plank or do some push-ups. And don't laugh. I know you're laughing. The key is to do what works because there is no right and wrong choice. Or let us say it differently. The wrong choice is only the one that you cannot sustain. Try setting a timer every hour or every 2 hours for a week. Take 5 minutes to move. Just move a little so that you can practice and it becomes a second nature to you to shake off the stress when it hits. We have included in this session a PDF guide with all the tools discussed so far and a couple of more that you'll see in the following sessions. So you can print it and have it handy. The idea is for it to serve as a memory guide for you to practice them as much as possible. Well, good luck and see you next time.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. We hope you find this information useful.
We wanted to remind you that this podcast is for educational purposes only. This podcast is not a substitute for a professional care doctor or qualified medical professional. This podcast is provided with the understanding that it does not constitute medical or other professional advice or services.
If you would like more information, you can always visit our website at www.theflipsideplan.com or send us an email at rosanna@theflipsideplan.com or mv@theflipsideplan.com.